Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we dig in deep to analyze the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. I'm Andy Nelson from thenextreel.com.
And I'm Pete Wright, also from The Next Reel.
We're getting toward the end of Jon Favreau's 2008 film Iron Man, and back with us today to discuss it is Tommy Handsome from The Next Reel and What's That Smell podcast.
That's me. Thank you guys for having me again for another minute of credits.
It's because we care.
Good Lord. What is this show?
On today's minute, we are looking at Iron Man 123. This minute starts with the 56 prop makers involved in the film, and it ends with Industrial Light and Magic, as all good minutes should.
Let me just make an observation, if I may.
Observe away.
We don't have good enough nicknames, just in general. And you can tell you don't because of the prop makers. They've got nicknames like Mark Fish Bielewski. And they're all the quotes. Why do they call him Fish? That's all I can think about. Or how about Paul the Wall Catapano? He's been making props for Walter Matthau and Out to Sea.
Everyone's favorite Walter Matthau vehicle.
Live Virgin. Cougar Town. Yeah, that's the Wall. Paul the Wall Catapano. I wonder if nobody just calls him Paul. They just call him the Wall. Like, hey, do you have that prop? And you'll say, no, let me ask the Wall. That's fantastic. I want a nickname like that. Or
what a weird
maybe a
conversation.
counterexample.
Hey, do you have the prop? No. Go ask the Wall. We're not all robots pretending to be human.
That's actually what Jarvis the Clippy robot says when you're looking for the prop. No, this is one that I think is a counterexample. This is a non-example. I don't know that this should have been written in the credits this way. Greg Newton actually has the word Newt in quotes, as if we couldn't figure out that that's where his nickname came from. Newton. Unless it's an ironic Newt, and actually his nickname comes after, like, the lizard.
Oh.
That would be funny.
You mean the amphibian, I think is
right, amphibian.
What you would properly call it.
Do you know what I know a lot about? Not amphibians. Not those.
What if his nickname was actually Fig? That's a real twist.
See? We need better nicknames. These are some of these are good.
I always question nicknames, and I wonder, okay, is Paul the Wall Catapano, is that his nickname because he's big and built like a wall? Or is it because he's the exact opposite of that? And he's like the skinniest guy on set and is really tiny.
Or he's just a normal guy who continues to walk into walls. Or he's a normal guy who always avoids walls, even when other people are walking into them. There are so many ways that this could play out.
He could be a Pink Floyd fan.
Or he's a
right.
When he was in high school, his big moment of fame was playing Wall in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh,
That's
deep
true.
cut.
Yeah,
it's probably
well
that.
played.
Yep.
I'm sure that's it. I'm sure that's it.
Right now, Paul's sitting in his apartment. They got it. I assume that's his voice.
And I assume he's a listener of the show. So welcome on board, Paul. Glad to have you.
It's the Wall and just the Wall.
Just
Thanks for coming, the Wall.
We have some Andys and some Toms and some Petes in this minute. Would you guys like to hear who they are?
I just want to know, were we up to any good and who's the best?
Yeah, just do the best of each.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We've got standby painter Andy Flores. He's just a standby painter, so I feel like
he's just chilling. Just in case the first guy drops his brush.
Right. Here you go. There.
Yeah.
Catering staff, Tom Rodella.
Oh, so, I could do catering. Sure.
Catering. Yeah.
I'm more of a crafty kind of person, but I could cater.
You could cater. We've got best boy grip, Tom Crawford. So look at that. You're on both sides of the aisle there.
I love it.
It was a grip. It was a grip. We've got assistant prop master, Peter Clark.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Not bad.
Too bad. We have key costumer, Tom McDonald. So there's a nice juicy role.
That's ironic because I have trouble even dressing myself.
Then we have staff assistant Andrew Lehman. So those are our folks this time, and I think Tom is in the lead. He's got key costumer, so he's got a key role, and best boy grip. Who doesn't want to be the best boy grip?
The best boy grip. My mom said
Nobody doesn't want to be that.
Yep.
That's the truth.
Yep.
Some of my favorite names from this minute. This one I am not even sure how to pronounce properly. I'm going to really do my best, but I think it's a really interesting name. It is Cuitlawak Morales Velasquez, who is the sculptor
good.
gang boss. I actually think I
Another
got
gang
that.
boss.
Yeah, Cuitlawak.
Do you think all the
tricky name.
gang bosses get together in a big smoke-filled room and just make noises like, ha, ha, ha. That's my guess.
I'm sure that's all they do.
Great.
That's right. A lot of stained glass.
Cuitlawak started on Starship Troopers uncredited as a sculptor, and then worked on Deep Impact after that, also as a sculptor.
I like both of those movies.
Oh, really? You like Deep Impact, huh?
Deep Impact, huh?
Weird, right?
That is weird. That is weird.
That is weird, yeah.
The world went, thanks for, wait, what was the other one called? Armageddon. They said, hooray, Armageddon. And I said, Deep Impact.
You were the lone voice.
I was the lone voice. I love it.
There you go. Queetlawak's IMDb game top 4 are Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Deep Impact. There you go, Tommy. And Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
look at that. It's as if
wow.
IMDb was throwing that one in just for you.
I assume that's how the algorithm is set up. Is just in case he looks.
Just in case.
Give Tommy one thing.
Right.
Okay, so in terms of functions on the set, here's another thing I don't know about that I hope you can educate me on. When you have somebody who is the coordinator of greens, what are they doing? The greens coordinator.
It's all the plants involved in the movie.
Yep.
And the greens foreman and the greensman.
Yeah, they have to get all the plants. They have to arrange them, style them, keep them living, all that sort of stuff. So, probably when we were out in the front of Stark Industries, when Tony pulls up and there's a bunch of plants lining against the windows, those are some things that probably the Greens team brings out. And likewise, some of the plants that we see outside of Tony's garage when he takes off, places like that.
And a big part of their job is having to anticipate damage from like a action scene and making sure that there's enough backups.
Right, like a tree branch gets broken or something like that.
Exactly. There's something they have to have enough, because shutting down something because you don't have it in a production like that, of course, is a disaster.
See, I just assumed all the plants are CG, so why would we even need this? But I'm glad to be disabused of that.
And likewise, I would imagine, Tommy, that like if they're out in the desert and kind of there's the scrub brushes and all that, and they do an explosion and they kind of create a scene, the Greens team also has to come in, and if anything gets damaged, they have to like replant new ones in the place of those, right?
Correct. They have to work with the set designer and the art director to remake everything. Correct. Because that's one of the interesting things. Well, I shouldn't say interesting before I finish saying what I'm saying, but is the hierarchy is such that everyone is like, everything is in its place, a place for everything. And they're very territorial about that stuff, generally on movie sets that I've been on. And so you have one person who says, this will look better if it's like this. And then that person has to go to another person and say, this is how it should be, who then goes to his staff and says, put this over there. And no one's able to, like, even the movie that I worked on, someone just walked in and I was like, the thing fell over. We need to put it back up because something just fell over in the mid-take. And someone walked over to get it, just like a production assistant. And the set designer lost it. It was like, no, like you can't touch it. I have to be able to touch it.
Yeesh.
Wow.
And I think part of it is because it's their job to make sure, I mean, if it's set up wrongly or if it's set up because the production assistant doesn't have the vision for it. So maybe because if the plant is turned around backwards, then all of those cover shots won't be useful anymore in editing, and it'll be the department head's fault.
That's fascinating. I get it now. And the Greens coordinator was Lee Runnels, and Lee has been involved in Greens coordination since 1988. It looks like was the first Greensman credit with Pumpkinhead, but went on to be a Greens person in Father of the Bride.
Oh,
That
Ooh,
was
a lot
a
of work in that one.
greens-heavy movie right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Apollo 13, there's some greens, less in the space part.
I'm sure there was something on the moon, though. I'm
Right.
really confident in that.
The Jungle Book, Mowgli's story. That's a heavy greens
A lot of
thing.
stuff,
yeah.
Most recent film, the most recent three, Django Unchained. He was Green's foreman. SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, and The Conjuring 2, The Haunting of the Greens. Top four are Iron Man, The Time Machine, AI, Artificial Intelligence, and everybody's favorite, Zodiac.
Oh, I love Zodiac.
Yeah,
Wait, why
interesting.
would there be a greens person for an animated film?
No, the Jungle Book. I'm guessing it was
SpongeBob.
because a lot of that was live action.
It was live action.
Oh, it was?
That
I
was
didn't
the
see it.
SpongeBob
sponges
comes out of the
come out
water
of
and
the
has
water
to
into
fight
the real-
Antonio
Yeah.
Banderas up on the beach. Yeah,
You guys
as a
could totally
pirate,
be
yeah.
making that up. I would believe it. I didn't see that movie. Okay, that sounds crazy. Okay.
Wait, say that again. I didn't see that movie. I just like to laugh. Antonio Banderas' character was Burger Beard.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you guys are
That's
poking
true.
fun. None of this comes
That's
true.
true. Tim Conway played a seagull.
All right. I can
Yeah.
make stuff up too. Elaine Boozler played the couch. I get it. We're just putting names with things. Again, I've dated myself again. No one knows who Elaine Boozler is.
That joke was a win right here, Tommy.
Okay,
Hand over
good.
heart.
Okay, good.
Catering. This is an interesting little name that I feel like we've probably seen. I guarantee if you have stayed and watched credits, and let's face it, anyone who is into the Marvel films has, like it or not, they have sat through the credits.
Yeah.
And
I thought you were going to say anybody who's ever come to a movie with me, like it or
Well-
not, has stayed for the credits.
Right. Before Marvel existed, I watched all the credits, kids. My kids, I trained them to start staying for the credits by basically, because the theater basically clears out every time. And I would let them go up to the front and dance to the music of the credits.
Oh.
And they loved that. And they were excited about the credits because
Cute.
they would get to go up to the front and it was like their own stage. They basically, my daughter, she would do like her whole little dance routine up there. It was fantastic. And then my son, he gave up on that and he just started, he would like start at the top and he would run down every single aisle and he'd run from the left to left top to the right top. Then he'd go down an aisle and then just do that all the way through the whole theater.
I imagine that's changed in the post-Marvel era when everybody stays in
Yeah.
the theater.
It doesn't work so well now.
You can't
It
bring as
doesn't
many
work so well
props.
now.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Neither
little
of them
trickier now.
are invited to a film premiere. That's not going to work. I think I've said this before. I call the after the credits scenes in Marvel movies, wait, what? Because they're always referencing something that I don't know about yet. And so I just go, wait, what? And then Darnell explains it to me.
I'll bet that Howard the Duck reference hit the sweet spot for
That one I did
reaction.
know. Yeah, that was weird. That's the one I did know because that's my superhero situation.
But there's this name that that we went down this crazy road. This name that likely we have all seen in credits, and it is the caterer, Tony's Food Service. Does that name ring a bell? Do you guys have you seen Tony's Food Service before in credits?
I don't-
If you're paying attention at all,
I'm not sure if I've noticed.
they have been catering on sets since 1982 with the two films Friday the 13th Part 3 and Honky Tonk Man. And since then, they've worked on 161 sets, tons of films that you would recognize, all through just the 80s and 90s. Lethal Weapon, the Lethal Weapon movies, The Great Outdoors, the Back to the Future movies, the Die Hard movies, In the Line of Fire, The Rock. Their work is all over the place. It's a ton of work, and that's what they do. They cater. They've got those great food trucks for all the various sets, and they keep people's tummies happy. And as you know, on set, that's how you make a set sing, is by keeping everybody's tummies happy.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I was taught moving out to Hollywood was that everyone, if you're making your own short films, everyone neglects sound, and it's the most important thing, and then feed your crew well.
Yes. The same year they were doing Iron Man, they also did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Changeling, and The Happening, everybody's favorite Shyamalan film.
The Changeling, is that the one with Angelina Jolie? I love that
It
movie.
is, yes.
I really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one for Clint Eastwood.
Oh, right.
This is the minute we have our translator. Pete, we had a fun time with the Reddit community and the translations from all the various languages. Ilham Hosseini is the one who did the translations. And I think for the most part, I would say probably did a pretty good job. I think if there were any faults, it likely was in the actors' pronunciations. That seemed to be the thing that hung people up most of the time when they were trying to do these translations for us.
Yeah, and the Reddit community they're very precise.
They were very good until I overdid it. And they finally hit a point where we've translated enough Iron Man for you. No more.
That was definitely on you.
That was too
They're
much,
an
man.
incredible resource. We thank Reddit, but we get it.
Exactly. We also have our Department of Defense liaison here in this minute. So, it's important to get these liaisons. We have the U.S. Department of Defense liaison, Philip M. Stroud, and the U.S. Air Force project officers, Captain Christian Hodge and Captain Mary Danner. They play a big part in making these things work. And so kudos to them for their help on this one.
And you can't make the armed forces look like jerks. If you want, that's
right.
like movies like Crimson famously did not get that kind of approval. And so
we're talking about a crazy sub-commander. Right?
Exactly. So they're not going to get that approval. I remember reading about that all of those scenes of the sub heading out were stolen shots. Because I
didn't read that.
They
really?
were going out and doing aerials, and then the sub commander of that sub was angry, and so ordered to dive just so they would ruin the shot. And so that scene of that sub going down in the very beginning is because they're trying to avoid the cameras.
Wow.
Okay. That is at once totally understandable and just a smidge petty.
What else are you going to do as a sub commander? There's not a lot of subbing to do right now.
Right, everybody hide.
Yeah, exactly. Zero bubble. That's that.
And then my favorite name from this batch was Chamonix Bosch. I guess it's Chamonix or
cool.
Chamonix. I don't know. Chamonix Bosch. I just love that name. Second assistant director, Chamonix Bosch. Chamonix has been not as long of a career, just since it looks like 99 on, actually an interesting start to a career with The Straight Story as a set PA. That's kind of a fun place to start.
What's The Straight Story?
The Straight Story is David Lynch's
about the
interesting
lawnmower.
little...
That's right.
The old man taking a trip on the lawnmower.
That's right. That's cool. Second, I think any of the assistant director jobs I would feel would have such high burnout. Less so now because the idea of the screaming first AD or second AD is so out of fashion for most sets is what I've heard. I know that it just rolls downhill from the director, but that just seems like such a nightmarish job.
Keeps him busy. The second, let's see, the second is busy doing, I'm trying to remember now, the second's busy dealing with kind of getting everything ready for the next day, schedule adjustments and all that sort of thing.
Stuff, yeah.
Right. Second is, I'm trying to remember what second's going to be doing, running people back and forth to set, right?
Oh, is that what second does?
I want to say it is,
I
but
love
I
it.
may be
That
wrong.
sounds good. I think the second is in charge of the table ladies. Call back.
Chamonix Bosch's IMDb game top 4 are Iron Man, Inland Empire, The One with Jet Li, and State of Play, the film that everybody forgot was made with Ben Affleck and Russell Crowe.
I'm pouring one out for that. Okay, so I just have to say it's Chamonix. Chamonix Bosch. It's a French name, and the only reason it came back to me is because there is a town in France that is called exactly that, and it took me a little while to find it and make sure I was talking about the right thing. It's on the border of France and Switzerland, and France and Switzerland and Italy, and it's all right there. It's like
They're
the four
so
corners
close.
of Europe. They're right there.
Chamonix. I like that.
Shout out to the Four Corners fans.
Awesome. Well, that's it. I didn't have any other names. Did you guys have any names or anything else you wanted to throw out? Oh, I did want to throw this out. They have in this minute The Animals by credit.
Oh, who is it?
Well, Roger Schumacher handled the animals in this film, but I was trying to think about the animals in this film, Pete. The only ones that come to mind are very early in our first 5 minutes. We saw very briefly the man walking with the goats as the vehicles drove by.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right.
And then we do see a dead horse, I believe, in some of the photos when they were looking at the images from Gulmira and kind of all the horrors that have been going on over there.
Mm.
Are there any other animals? I feel like that's it. The goats and the horse, the dead horse.
Goats and the horse, unless there are some birds or something. I don't know when he's flying. I don't remember any.
I don't remember any birds ever.
Yeah.
Although I would love to have seen him run into a bird.
Yeah, totally.
When he's flying. Just a puff of feathers.
That's a thing that I think they didn't lean in heavily enough. The airborne collisions.
Right. With Jarvis. Watch out, sir. There's a bird approaching.
Right.
A flock of seagulls.
I do. It looks like you're trying to avoid some birds. I do have a name that I would like to drop here, and that's John Loris Underkoffler. Does that name ring a bell?
It doesn't.
John Loris Underkoffler is a futurist science and technology advisor.
Cool. That sounds like AI. And Minority Report.
Totally. He's at Cal. Let's see. He's at CSU Long Beach, and he does very cool things like future gesture-based, user interfaces. He's a former MIT Media Lab guy, computer scientist, and he has worked on a lot of fantastic projects, both art installations and movie projects.
Minority Report.
Let me see. Did he? Yes. Yes, he did. Minority Report, and actually Hulk. He was back on Hulk. He was on Aeon Flux and Iron Man. And but his, like, you look at his CSU Long Beach page, and the stuff is just fascinating. Like, he's just an amazing contributor to this field, and so it feels like what a great addition. For this film. Seems like a very cool role. John Loris Underkoffler.
Cool.
I'm gonna watch out for the futurist science and technology advisors now, maybe when we start talking about the movie 1 minute at a time.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, I like that Underkoffler was involved in Minority Report. It makes very much sense with all the gestural interfaces in that film and how that kind of paired to what Tony's doing in his workshop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like he was very much involved in. He actually has a TED Talk demonstrating a real life version of the spatial operating environment interface from Minority Report.
He's amazing,
very
and
cool.
we're actually going to be taking apart that TED Talk 1 minute at a time.
I'm very much looking forward to that. I want to jump back to the animals real quick. I have to get this out there because Roger Schumacher, who did deal with the goats and the dead horse, apparently this was his last film. I don't know why, but just wanted to throw that out there. Kind of sad.
I think the question is, was it horse related?
Yeah, I think the horse died, and he was like, "Well, gotta hang it up. Time to become a pastry chef."
Yeah,
it's all over now. He was involved in Hulk, and I wonder if that was the poodles.
Wait, he was the Gamma Poodle?
He was the animal trainer for Hulk. Yeah.
Oh God, you can't give them actual gamma rays. That was all. That entire sequence was practical. Nobody knows that. It's amazing. Ang Lee, he's a purist.
So Tom, you that's my angry Tom voice.
I don't like this.
So Tommy, what? So you weren't a comic book fan as a young person. Did you ever read comic books? Were you involved in, or did you kind of get into that world? Did you watch other superhero films like Superman, any of those sorts of things, Spider-Man?
I think I watched all the Supermans. For comics, I was a horror comic fan and Archie. It was this weird split. It was horror, and diametrically opposed to horror is Archie with his dumb, weird, non-conflict situations. Yeah, so those were my two, but horror comics was definitely my big one. Growing up in Boulder, Colorado, there was this comic book store. I can't remember the name of it, but they would sell you really old. I think this is before collecting had been invented. That's, again, I'm dating myself, but they would sell old, like House of Secrets and comics like that for cover price. Meaning, so back in the day, they were 25 cents and they would give it to you for 25 cents. And I'd go in there every couple of weeks. My mom would drive me in and I'd just go through to see if anyone had sold them something that I could get. So yeah, I have an enormous amount of horror comic knowledge, but just not as much superheroes.
And you back when you could get it for a tuppence.
Yep, exactly. I would go in with my hay penny. And if I didn't have a hay penny, then God bless me.
God bless you.
Yep.
Well, Tommy, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you? Remind everybody about your other podcasts.
Sure. I do the podcast with you guys, the TNR, the Film Board. I do a podcast with Pete about a funny podcast about anxieties called What's That Smell? And I'm we're way ahead in recording, but I am starting my own quarter-minute podcast. It's called the Quarter Minute Child 44 Quarter Minute. And it's every 15 seconds of the beloved film Child 44. And we have no guests, and it's going to be a terrible failure.
Can I just request one guest for you? I have to be on the minute where the train undresses the child.
I'm sorry, Andy. A train can't undress a boy. Touche, sir.
Whoa.
You've been toucheed. I don't know how touche works.
Oh, and for anybody wondering what the hell we're talking about, you should, 1, not watch Child 44, but you should, 2, find our Film Board episode in which we discuss said film.
Children.
Oh, well.
Please end this show.
Yeah, well, everybody, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show for free at marvelmovieminute.com. Join us over in our Discord chat room and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Next Reel. And if you like what we do and you want to support us and get some cool stuff, head on over to thenextreel.com/Patreon. Until next time, true believers.